So we're going to read this paper by Andrew M. Bailey and Joshua Rasmussen, How Valuable Could a Person Be? And this is in Philosophy and Phenomenological Research, which is a very well-respected philosophy journal. And we've read stuff. I've read stuff on stream by this writing team before, Bailey and Rasmussen. So I think I looked it up. It was Philosophy Roulette 133. We read something here. Okay, so here we go. And as always, my first time reading it. If you have questions, I will do my best to explain and ask away. 1. Value. Our topic is the value of human persons. While we do not have a reductive definition or analysis of the concepts involved, we will lay out a few clarifying assumptions. First, we are thinking of value as the most general positive status. What the fuck is I have no idea. Thus, anything that is good in any sense at all falls under this capacious umbrella. Value at this most abstract level includes, we might say, the good, the true, the beautiful. It is common to and unites all and only things that are morally positive, epistemically positive, or aesthetically positive. All right, and just so you know, like this sort of thing, it's like it makes no difference really what they mean here. They know this, but like it's just nonsense. It's like, okay, it's like your vision of the good. It's really relative to people. Whatever it is, if the most abstract is going to be relative. And it's like, this doesn't actually mean anything because different people are going to have slightly different ideas. Basically, this is like the old concept of God. Whatever you think the greatest good is, that's what God is. So this is just a slightly modified old school version of the concept of God. Not saying it's a religious concept. I'm saying it's used in the same way that the religious concept of God used to be described. And so you got to immediately start thinking, well, what does that entail if we're doing the same thing like this old school way of how God used to be described? Tommy says 23andMe showed 99.9% European with 98% Irish, British, some trace European, and then 0.1 Anglo-Congolese. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So this is just the sort of thing that gets my like the philosophical spidey sense going. It's just like, all right, they've just defined the good in people the way we used to describe God. The good in God. Okay. Second, value comes in degrees. Some things are more valuable than others. Some things, furthermore, suffer from negative degrees of value or disvalue. It is better for them not to be. A helpful connection may be this. Anselmian perfection or supreme value is the upper limit case of value in the target sense. To be perfect in St. Anselm's sense is for it to be good to the highest conceivable degree that one exists. And you see, they are ready. Right here, saint, like this is a saint, like this is a religious concept. They've already, like, they immediately were like, yes, we're going in this sort of religious-y sort of way, which is interesting. So they have shifted the perfections of God into a graded perfections of humans. Okay. Third, all kinds of things can be valuable displays of courage, sublime waterfalls, true beliefs, properly functioning dehumidifiers, delicious durians, elegant theories, and so on. And all sorts of things can be disvaluable: pain, unrequited love, murder, damage to soft myofascial tissue, and so on. It does not follow, of course, that all of these things have the same kind of value. Despite all being good in some respect or other, some might be categorically different from others in the value they possess. Some mainly maintain that only a restricted class of things, experiences, facts, or states of affairs, for example, can be valuable in the strict sense, while other things are valuable only in a loose sense. Our assumption that all sorts of things can be valuable in some respect or other is compatible with such views, since it does not imply that all sorts of things can be value in that strict sense. Yeah, so they're just trying to be loose about this. Whatever you think in the way that you think it is valuable, we're okay with that. Yeah. Tommy's from Birmingham or Liverpool. Viper says you don't need a DNA test to figure out what nationality it is. It says so on your passport. Yank. Yeah. Fourth, value comes in at least two flavors: final and instrumental. The final value of an item is what makes it properly valued for its own sake as an end. The instrumental value of an item derives from its capacity or tendency to produce value. Both final and instrumental value come in positive and negative degrees, and mixing and matching is possible. Yeah, so now we're just doing causes. This is the final cause and the efficient cause. Like, what does it do? A thing could have any mixture of final or instrumental value or disvalue. A bad feeling that is nonetheless useful for survival, for example, might suffer from a small degree of final disvalue and a high degree of instrumental value. A beautiful but useless work of art may be finally valuable, but without much instrumental value at all, or even some instrumental disvalue, as when it prompts jealousy or political strife. Okay, so truth is, as far as I'm concerned, they've said absolutely nothing here. They've been so general as to say, hey, there's words good and bad, and you use them in different ways. I'm like, sure. Okay, human value. Extreme and equal. Human persons are those things to which we ordinarily refer with personal pronouns. Among human persons are those things we sometimes call non-cognitivists, teenagers, politicians, foreigners, heterosexuals, and more. You are a human person. The authors of this article are people too. Viper says, the Irish aren't cowards. You lost the right to call yourself Irish when your ancestors fled. Oh, wow. Okay. No true Irishman then. All right. You're calling no true Irishman. Or in economic terms, worth value. Yeah. This is, and that's a good point. It's just like, well, okay, there's economic value, and it's just like there are other things, and they're just giving different values here. Economic is going to matter too here. So how much value does a person have? At least some. We take it to be self-evident that you are valuable, you matter, it is a good that you exist. Again, this is very religiously tinged. You can say you might not like people, and you might not think people actually do have value. You may think only very few people have value. Heraclitus has like one of the quotes that comes up in the Heraclitus bot. It says like, no, well, not this quote, but like there's one where it says, well, most people suck, basically. 1 in 10,000 is good. 1 in 10,000. So the authors here are presenting a certain view of the world, but this is not the only view of the world. It feels right that you have value. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I saw my own chat. I was like, wait, what'd I say? Okay. Your value seems to surpass the value of many other things, including pugs, sunsets, Twitter patient, Black Star, valid arguments, delicious dinners, the keeper of the plains, and more. I mean, again, depends who you ask. Some people are misanthropes, and they don't like people, and they might think that sunsets have more value than people. Heraclitus would have taken my mouth anus query seriously. What do you mean? We did take it seriously. Heraclitus would have laughed. Heraclitus would have laughed harder than we did. We took it too seriously. That was really the problem. Traditionally, Heraclitus was shown as the laughing philosopher. Like he was, the history there is actually, he was regarded as always like making jokes and shit because everything was just silly to him. So it was the laughing philosopher. Aris or Valpo, tell me if I got that wrong. Because there were two, there was the laughing and the crying philosopher. So I think the Heraclitus was the laughing philosopher. Okay. It is good that those items exist. The world is better for their being. Yet there are important senses in which your value surpasses the value of beasts, landscapes, pleasant feelings, classic Malmsteen tunes, proofs, meals, or majestic steel sculptures. Your value is more extreme. Again, this is, I'm getting the very sort of Western Christian tradition here that just like puts us, you know, with infinite value over, like, because we have the spark of God or whatever, free will to us. I mean, this has not been argued for. They're just sort of stating their position here. I'm looking at this footnote. You are no exception or outlier. The authors also enjoy this remarkable status. We all do. Value is our common human birthright. Yeah. So they're very like, you know, rah, we're human and we're good. Heraclitus is a sad boy. Democritus is a silly boy. Thank you. Okay, so I had it backwards. Yeah, so then maybe Heraclitus would have taken you very seriously, Vipers. Thank you, Aris, for the... I was like, I know one of the other philosophers in chat know this. Okay, we can be more specific about the value we have in common. Though we may differ with respect to instrumental value, we do not differ with respect to what we call final value. In this sense, we are all equals. Yeah, everyone human has intrinsic like dignity. This is going to probably... I wonder if this is going to go with the dignity angle. Human dignity, and we all have that. All right. You may well be more effective than someone else when it comes to producing lucrative dance beats, for example, and thus more valuable in that instrumental sense, or you might have powers of persuasion that make you a potent ally in campus politics. Unreal says, but I'm impressed by philosophers that appreciate Ingwe Malmstrom, though. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this paper in terms of structure right here is they're quoting a lot of interesting little things. Their writing is entertaining. They have like different little points that they're hitting on here. So they are better writers than a lot of the other philosophers we've read. Yeah. Vipers says, I do not have value. In fact, the only humans that have less value than me are Americans who claim to be Irish. Wow. Wow. Shots fired or something. Something or other. Okay. But when it comes to final value, you don't have more of that than anyone else. You are properly valued for your own sake to exactly the same degree as anyone else. It is proper that someone treat you as an end in yourself and the same... Speaking of, I need to... self-esteem, man. I need to give out more shout-outs. Another useful stream you should be following if you have not. You should go hang out with Tommy. Tommy is a philosopher. He's doing a PhD in philosophy of mind. And, plays a lot of PUBG. I mean, it's the only time I go to I never go to PUBG stream, save when I'm at Tommy's. Yeah. You feeling Nate coming on? Yeah. Well... I'm trying to remember my old, how I feel about these guys, because I kind of have a sense about them. I think they're very clever. They may get a meh or like a respectful, just sort of like a grudging yay out of me, Ivan. So yeah, go hang out with Tommy. He's a good guy. He's a good philosopher. So if you haven't done that, more philosophy content. This is like the master list of people to go follow if you want more of philosophy and related friends. Yeah, Anne's here too, but I don't know if Anne's streaming anytime soon, but find out. She just had to move. Same interesting writing, but I'm not into their whole framing. Yeah, so it's a question like, just because I don't like the framing of their argument does not make it where they're going bad. The framing may just be an issue with framing, and we can recognize that there's a issue with framing. And, like, that's fine. Not also a master list, but also a PhD list? Well, no, I don't have a PhD, but then again, I'm not on the list. I mean, people with masters and PhDs, Shane has advanced degrees, Kali Oxenfree has advanced degree, Lumpy has advanced degree, I don't know if Globus has an advanced degree, Anne has advanced degrees, Tommy has advanced degrees, Dr. No Way, who we don't hang out with, he's got a PhD in philosophy. I don't really hang out there, but he seems like he might be okay. Aris, of course, has advanced degree. Evolve Yourself has advanced degree. The people at Ask a Philosopher, those are PhDs. Ivan has PhD. Prof has at least a master's. At this point, he's gonna be he's gonna be dissertating soon, and same with Luminance. So yeah. You got some highly, you've got Alphabet Mafia people here. Alphabet Mafia. Okay. We'll have to look at all the streamer lists that do not... Yes, a Russellian set of streamers. Okay. Tommy has such an advanced degree, the letters are reversed like in ladder. An AM, not an MA. Yeah, that too. Okay. So we each enjoy final value that is extreme and equal. Yes, we all have the same infinite human value. Were final value a kind of wealth, the tribe of humanity would be supreme in its affluence while also blessed with a Gini coefficient of 0. See, I have no idea what this is, but they're being very clever with their writing. I have no idea what that means. Google says the pH of D is 4.1 to 5.8, slightly acidic. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. The puzzle of extremity and equality. Okay, so now we're getting into infinities. I see. Suppose that our value is indeed extreme and equal. This idea, it turns out, is puzzling. To see why, consider a parable. Quote, you are in a museum. Paintings adorn the walls. Some appear lovely indeed, and you can tell why they're on display in such a fancy locale. Others are plain. Some depict desert landscapes. Yet others seem jarring or even ugly. You're not quite sure what to think about those. A curator approaches. Did you know that every one of these paintings is a treasure, an artifact of deep value? No, you respond. No, I didn't. But that doesn't surprise me. This is a fancy museum after all. Let's see. Viper says, in economics, the Gini coefficient, also known as the Gini index or Gini ratio, is a measure of statistical dispersion intended to represent the income inequality, the wealth inequality, or the consumption inequality within a nation or social group. Okay. Yeah, so they were saying, look, if we look at people in terms of their intrinsic value, there is no difference among peoples, and so there's no unequal distribution of like goodness among humans. See, I disagree with this. I think some people suck. I think some people can die. I don't care. I hope what's his name? That fucker. There's a bunch of fuckers. I hope they're burning in hell. And it's like, like most people I think are just fine. There's some fuckers out there. I hope they die a painful death, and I hope they burn in hell. I don't care. Like, fuck them. And so you can see, I'm not saying about most people. I think most people have human dignity. I think most people are just fine. Normal people, fine. Not everybody. So I'm already off the boat. I can appreciate these people's argument. I can appreciate the argument of the authors. I am not with them on this point though. Even if it's only one person I think sucks, that's not what they said. Fuck them. So it's like, fuck that one guy. So it's like, well, you know what? This argument is not for me. Tommy saying like me, and that's not a good thing, or so I hear. I don't think that's very Christian of us. Yeah, I've never claimed to be Christian. So it's like, yeah, no, like that's what I was saying. They started off quoting Saint Anselm. Like, you can see this is a Christian style argument. This may not be a Christian argument, but it's Christian style. And so for all the people in that tradition, this may be right up their alley. That's fine. It's just, well, I'm not those people. I'm not. So, okay. All right, so the curator at the museum responds, it's true, and did you know that every one of these paintings enjoys exactly the same value as any other? Author says, wait, really? How? Oh, I see what you must mean. They must each have the same price. You charge the same amount to part ways with any of them. Curator says, not quite. Art traders, their aim is lucre alone, talk about price. And the price they speak of concerns the condition for a voluntary exchange. But I'm talking about value. Each of these paintings has precisely the same value as any other, no more, no less. Yeah. Ivan says, even if this argument succeeds, it's going to implode at the end when trying to compare values. Yeah, but let me tell you something, Ivan. These people are very clever. They know that. So they are planning ahead for this sort of thing. Or that is their entire point. Like, maybe that is the point, or they have accounted for that. These are not crappy philosophers. They're not. Luke says intrinsic value. Valpa says Rasmussen. Yeah, we've read them before. I was worried about this. We've read both both of them before, and a joint paper by these people before. Yeah, intrinsic value cannot exist without a valuer. Well, these people are valuers, Luke. They're just saying it has extreme equal value. I mean, I like, this is my doubt face. I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think everyone is of equal value. I think some people suck. And so, like, whatever intrinsic value of humanity they may have had, they've forfeited that value. So, yeah. Okay, so author is now understanding that there's some intrinsic value to art, and to the curator, they're all of equal artistic value. Author says, perhaps I understand. Are you saying that though these paintings differ in style and color and medium and era, each has the same power to generate good in the world, perhaps by arousing various kinds of reactions in viewers? Curator says, that's not what I'm saying at all. Some of these paintings will produce all sorts of good in the hearts and minds of those who behold them, but others will leave their audiences empty. So I'm not talking about the equally valuable effects of these paintings. I'm saying that each of these paintings is equally valuable as an end in itself, regardless of its effects. So yeah, very sort of like final cause, like to make art that art just is. Yeah. Rasmussen's coming to Texas in the fall. I mean, is it by you, I guess? Like, that might be cool. Like I said, these are highly competent people. I tend to disagree with them, but they're highly competent philosophers. Okay. The curator's claims are puzzling. The paintings differ wildly in their ability to generate positive effects, a kind of instrumental value. They differ wildly in many other respects too. So how could it be they are each finally valuable to the same degree? Some explanation is in order. Unreal says everybody having equal value is a hypostatization of the idea of equality before the law, which is a human construct which is, or may be, helpful for social cohesion and answering to some of our occasional moral intuitions. Yeah, so again, there's different ways where we could all be equal, like in the eyes of the law. Like the law is blind. It shouldn't care. It shouldn't treat some people better than the others. So that's fair. But like again, yes, like, and so are we overgeneralizing from a legal sense? Maybe, but I feel like these guys are doing it from a religious sort of human intrinsic, like dignity, spark of God sort of thing. You're further north, they'll be in Central Texas. Okay, cool. I mean, Texas is a big place. I'll send a pic of am I really equal value to you, Rasmussen, with a ring and Nutella on my naked body. Well, let's get to the end of this paper first. For all we know, they're pulling a bait and switch on us. Maybe they're going to bait and switch and be like, well, no, we are not all of equal value. Oh, Rush Limbaugh. He's the guy I don't mind if he's... I was going to say earlier. Just want to be clear. The person I was saying can burn in hell. I hope he died a painful death. Rush Limbaugh. Okay, in the same way, some explanation is in order if all human beings are extremely and equally valuable. Like the paintings, we differ wildly in color and size and shape. We differ in all matter of non-moral properties. We differ in all matter of moral properties too. Some of us are well behaved and disposed towards kindness or courage, others significantly less so. Like the paintings, we also differ wildly in our capacity to produce other kinds of goods, money, food, pleasure, awe, and so on. We differ in instrumental value in that sense, and yet somehow we are indeed each extremely and equally valuable. How? Why? Our extreme and equal value cries out for explanation. In what follows, we shall pursue a deeper explanation of our extreme and equal value. We aim to see how final value could be the same across such divergent beings. Yeah. And so I just deny this, but they're going to try to explain it. Unreal says, well, that's it. It's the natural law perspective with God as the ultimate judge and guarantor of justice. Well, there we go. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That being amongst the... Yeah, I mean, what was it? There was that great pic of the richest woman in Australia. The National Gallery in Australia had like some retrospective of a major Australian artist, and he had this what could only be described as an extremely unflattering painting of the richest woman in Australia. And what's great about it is it's kind of hideous and it's just really well done. And then she wants the gallery she's worth some $30 billion. And she wants the National Gallery to take it down. The National Gallery was like, no. It's like, we didn't do this on purpose. This is just one of his paintings. And they're just like, no, this is of artistic value. But she's probably never going to give them any money again. But they had to stand up for it. But it's just like, yeah, if you want to talk about art, it's like, well, that also was good art. It's just great how hideous she looks in that painting. Like, I don't know anything about her. Well, I do know a few things about her from reading that. She is like a mining magnet. So her job is basically tearing up the earth. And so I'm not surprised the artist was like, I don't like you. But yeah. Luke says, you can hold the view that all humans are of equal value without needing to appeal to God law. Yes, Luke, but it's going to be in the style of the old religious arguments. Nothing here claimed religious origin. It's just very religious style argumentation. And this is one of these things you realize if like I've realized over years doing philosophy, you're not getting away from the old arguments. The arguments get rehashed in new ways. But like this argument here is like, it is just kind of like an evolution of the old religious ones. And as Unreal saying, this is also a very legalese style argument, just with the God as legal arbiter, the ultimate judge. So yes. Caduce says, forgive us our trespass, and we forgive those who trespass on us, please, and thank you, yes. That got over quickly, shouted by the King Charles thing, yeah. Oh yeah, that did. Yeah, speaking of like artists doing tough times, at least the artists are showing up with good paintings. Yeah. So yeah. What is this, Vipers? Is this the... Yeah, here we go. And what's so great about it is like she's very recognizable. Like if like you were an Australian and then you had seen a picture, you knew what this lady looked like. Like you can see like, oh yeah, like look at those blue eyes. Like you can see she has like the sort of the eyes and the hair, like this little hair flip up here. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but like this little hair thing up here. It's like the same as little hair thing there. The like the thin upper lip with the red lipstick. It's like you start looking at the art, like it's really well done. Like it's good art. Like this is a good artist. So it's just like, yeah. Yeah, and so you can see why she might not want that picture to be in the National Gallery. Caricature is an art. Well, being mean in art is like, it's something. Like, you're embarrassing people. You're making a statement by making an embarrassing picture of them. So it's like, yes. It's like, what was that? Marge paints Mr. Burns. Yeah. You sing the one of King Charles in Hell? Oh yeah, that's also great. Could like look that one up. King Charles painting. No, just give me images. This one. So yeah. Seriously? Yeah, so there we go. So, I mean, basically, people were saying it looks like he's just like, if he were to step out, blood would just like drip off of him, And I would assume this is a comment on the lovely history of like English imperialism. But, yeah. So if you haven't seen this, it's like really well done. Again, it's a like sort of momentous piece, very big, and it's just like, yeah, it looks bloody as fuck. So yeah. Viper says, I read a joke. The King Charles painting perfectly illustrates how the aristocracy see themselves. Obviously covered in blood, but suspiciously with none on their hands. Yeah. So like you can see, it's like not on his head, not in his hands, but just like it's everywhere else. Yeah, King Charles is new member of Slayer. Yeah, it's like the most metal painting. Like if like you're gonna get like a medal or like people were putting this in like video games, like those dark video games, like Souls games or something. It's like this would fit right in with like these sort of like gods murdering all the things. Yeah. Can you show some respect when talking about my king, please, or I will scoop a bagel? MDD, what's up? Honestly, I love this painting. Yeah. Again, excellent artist. But it's very hard to see this as portraying the king in a good light. You can say it's great art, but like it's just a little bit jarring, if in the least, like to say the least about it. Yeah. DCI, you can scoop a bagel. That's okay. Viper says, better close that window before the ooze under NYC starts acting up. That's true. Yeah, that's the other one. It's kind of like Vigo. I thought of that a while back. I was like, that was one of my first reactions. Like, you get the Vigo, the from Ghostbusters 2 sense from this. Like, you can go look up Vigo. Like Vigo from Ghostbusters 2, like he's gonna come out of the painting or something, steal a baby and try to take over the baby. This painting is creepier. What do we got there, DCI? No. Who is this? I mean, yes, this is a like intense like painting, but like I don't know what that one is. Okay. Vigo the Carpathian, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is a creepy painting, but like it's cool. Like, yeah, it's good and creepy, but it's different. Click. Okay. Say what you will, but the art injects so much vitality into a portrait of a guy who looks like your average senior home resident. Well, yes, but it's sort of like evil, like life. It's sort of Vigo the Carpathian, sort of I'm going to like murder all the babies life. That's not like vitality. That's sort of like evil vitality. Reading Rap, what's up? King Charles, the illustrious epitome of neo-Elizabethan snack time, wades through the molasses of archaic pomp and the quagmire of modern civic high fives. Imagine, if you will, a Hegelian master-slave sitcom where Charles stars as both protagonist and footnote. This regal sitcom necessitates a deep dive into the kingly subconscious, guided by a Lacanian psychoanalysis with Freud peering over our collective shoulder, munching popcorn. What is that, Reading Rap? How you doing, by the way? DCI says Marina Abramovich with Jacob Rothschild child in front of Satan summoning his legions. Okay, so that was Satan. All right, so that's why it's like, sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of philosophy thrown in there. I don't know if any of it makes any sense, though. A Hegelian master-slave sitcom. What is that? Maybe it would be good. I don't know. But yeah, what's up? How you doing? Okay, so we are back to the paper a little bit now that we've been fucking around. Maybe Satan is actually nice and pleasant and this is just a smear campaign. I mean, there's plenty of works of art where Satan is usually a nice guy and like God is very strange, and then like Satan always is like, evil in the end, but during the course of the show comes off as like, very sort of like nice. You want to be friends with Satan. Very good guy. So it wouldn't be the first time. D says, if you took a single model of H2O, is that water silt? These are sort of things, kind of like, how do you define things? H2O quite often in analytic philosophy is defined as water. So if you have a single molecule of water, it is water. Now, can you take it out of context like that? I don't know. Like steam. Steam is just, water vapor. So it's single molecules of water just in, like, moving around. Now, it seems like that would still be water. It's just steam water. So, but... these are definitions. Like, if you, there's probably a way to mess it up. So Reading Rep says, if a single water molecule had a philosophy degree, it would probably sit in a corner of the periodic table, sipping a metaphysical espresso, and debating whether it's part of the grand aqueous collective, but without its buddies forming hydrogen bonds and doing Macarena, it's more like a water wannabe. Yes. Well, I mean, like I said, steam is also like, gaseous water. And in that case, it is not, they're not really touching. It's like just steam. But like, that's also water. Okay. In the following sections, if I drink a single mole of water, did I wash my ass? Usually you need more water to wash than a single molecule. Like, I assume there's water in like the air and it's bouncing off. I don't consider that a wash. All right. In the following sections, we will present and defend two arguments for the thesis that if we have extreme and equal value, then we have infinite or non-limited value. So, so this is the only way to make things exactly equal, is make them all infinite. Each of these arguments is a specification or regimentation of the following intuitive idea. The best way to account for both the extremity and equality of human value is to suppose that we are infinitely valuable. Yeah, so now this is like getting into spark of life stuff. Gluteus jokes are generally supposed to logically follow in with punchline KW. Yeah, but Reading Rap, he was making jokes. This is actually a long running joke from the stream. So it's like, it's actually, yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. I rub the soap directly on my ass when I wash? Yes, I do. That's how I wash my butt, is using soap. Yeah. Viper said, yeah. It was we've had a theme of like mouth butt jokes this whole stream, because that's what we do here. All right. To further set the stage, here's a coda to our parable. As you prepare to take your leave from this strange place, the curator adds, quote, you seem to be skeptical about the deep and equal value of my paintings, so let me be more precise about how things stand. As it turns out, there's a largest unit of value, the axon. For reference, the median delicious meal clocks in at about 0.0004 axons. Every painting has precisely 61.2 axons of value. You can verify this claim by consulting an axonometer. I happen to have one right here if you'd like to use it. The family soup? Yes, that's right, TCI. Reading Rep says, okay, but if donkey is an ass, what is an ass of a donkey? Oh. You don't get... Reading Rap, does Viper really need extra ideas? But okay. Okay. So, we've got like a metaphysical value meter here. This is one of the things that annoy me. Like, don't be making up like random things like numbers. There's like arbitrary analytization. You're just making something analytic that's not supposed to be. Like, you're trying to give something infinite value. Maybe I can grant that in sort of like a metaphysical, religious sense. But if you're going to say like humans have 61.2 value, like whatever is of value, it's just like, it means nothing. is just whatever you want to make it up as. It's the old, like, how many Schrute bucks for, like, was it Leroy Nichols or something? It doesn't matter. These are arbitrary values. It's stupid. Okay. Would this additional detail make more explicable the thesis that each painting is extremely and equally valuable? It would not. It is all the more puzzling how these divergent paintings could have that same degree of final value. Indeed, for any finite amount of value, neither the unit nor the quantity seem to matter. It would be strange indeed if each painting had precisely that degree of value and not another. No, it wouldn't. It'd just be ad hoc. It wouldn't be strange. It'd just be ad hoc. That's what this is. The categorical ground of all possible defecation, the transcendental sphincter. Yes. So also with people. It would be strange indeed if human persons all had great final value to precisely the same finite degree. How could that be? What could explain or account for this apparent coincidence? And what follows, our core claim is that the best way to explain or account for the extreme and the equal value of all of human persons is in terms of infinite value. We offer next two arguments for this claim. We are not maximally convinced that both arguments are sound, but we find their disjunction plausible and worth serious consideration. Section 5. Confirmation. Luke says the axiometer would not gather data from the item. It'd have to gather data from those doing valuing or have all knowledge about how people would value a thing and then analyze them. Yes, and that's the problem here, that they brought that up to like illustrate a point, but it's a ridiculous argument to begin with, because for that reason it doesn't really, there's no basis in reality for any of this. They're just stipulating that we all have a lot of value, and then they just want to say it's infinite, and okay, because what? It makes the math work out better? Is that really a good way to understand the value of people as infinite, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense? That is somehow missing the point to me. This goes back to like criticisms of Pascal's wager, where in a very similar sense, you're talking about infinite loss when it comes to like human life, or like the value of like value of human life, because if you die and you go to heaven, you get infinite value. Well, that's a very weird thing to do that. And so it's like you're valuing something on having infinite life in heaven. But again, it's like it's a strange argument. Is that how you want to govern your beliefs? It's sort of missing the point. If you want to talk about like what the value of belief is, like, or should you believe, doing a decision theory problem is the wrong way of going about it. And this is not a new criticism. It's been around forever. Doing decision theory is not the way to decide if you should believe in God. You should have faith. Or something else. But decision theory ain't it. Like, thank you, Valpo. Like, tell me if I'm being an idiot. But, again, and so similarly here, arguing that humans have infinite value because that makes the math work out is not the right way about talking about the value of human life. That this paper will be giving Eternized Dragon Dude an aneurysm, yes. If we have infinite value, then that refutes my irrefutable argument. Yeah, oh no. And I wonder if the guy doesn't probably stick around in banned streams, just moves on to the next likely suspect. And which one of you put a Globus name in Aris's chat? I mean, that was funny. I don't know if Globus deserves that, but that was funny. So not you. Okay. Forgot who that was. I was like, I thought about doing something similar, and I was like, I don't wish this on anyone. So yeah. For what it was worth, Pascal didn't think it was proof either. Oh, good for Pascal. Okay. But yeah, it's a long running criticism, that like, this isn't how you should be believing. And like I said, this isn't how you should be deciding what people are worth by mathematical peculiarities. MDD says I can confirm it was DCI. Thank you, MDD, for confirming. Okay, the first argument uses a Bayesian confirmation framework. Well, how do we like that? Keck W. Let equal human value be this datum. We all enjoy equal and extreme final value. A finite value hypothesis is that the theory that we are each equally and extremely finally valuable to some finite degree. Infinite value hypothesis is the theory that we are each infinitely finally valuable. Thank you for the shout out to Ivan. Yeah, Ivan likes his Bayesian epistemology, which is cool. But it looks like they're going to be trying to hijack some Bayesian epistemology here. Consider now two conditional epistemic probabilities. These report roughly the degree to which one should expect a particular item of evidence given a hypothesis. P, equal human value over infinite value hypothesis, and P, equal human value over finite value hypothesis. So yeah, one is being like people have infinite value, the other one people have a non-infinite finite value. These probabilities are not the same, and indeed the first is significantly higher than the second. We shall argue for this claim from both directions. Given infinite value hypothesis, we may expect that people have equal value. It would not be surprising, given infinite value hypothesis, that we are all deeply and equally value. So yeah, so we all have equal value and it's infinite, and so that means we have some sort of value, which is like, it's one value. Have we even mentioned the assumption that human value is a singular or finite or infinite scalar? No. And this is one of no, they just are assuming it's some value, which is, like I was saying earlier, arbitrary numbers are just being given here. Or maybe even, not maybe numbered, but some sort of relative value, but it's all very, they're just assuming that stuff. Okay, and so if there's a finite value for equal human value, then, well, if it's infinite in one case and not infinite in another, then it's like, yeah. Okay. Given infinite value hypothesis, we may expect that people have equal value. It would not be surprising, given infinite value hypothesis, that we are all deeply and equally valuable. It seems to be precisely what one would expect. In fact, infinite value hypothesis furthermore offers a simple and compelling explanation for equal human value. Infinity is a big number, so to speak, so no wonder we are extremely valuable. Luke says, for the base probabilities, are they saying that the evidence is equal human value? That's a good question. What exactly are they calling this? I don't know exactly what they're saying here. Bayesian framework, the tools of the betrayed. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what this slash in the middle here is, because this is not Bayes' formula, and they should be, and the problem is they should know better than to just do this. This is the probability of human value given the infinite value hypothesis. So I think this slash here is not a division. It's just everyone is equal human value given the infinite value hypothesis. So it's the probability that everyone has equal value given that it's infinite. And since infinities are equal, like if just one the lowest infinity, well, let's call the humans the lowest infinity, even though there may be infinite number of infinities. But like we'll just say they're all infinite. So that's it. Yeah, so equal value means no one is distinct. That's right, Adam. These folks are saying no one is distinct in the sense of the being human, you have infinite value. Of course, you are distinct, but they made another term for that. They said you have instrumental value in many ways. So what they've done is they separated out all the things that would make anyone special away from what they're calling just innate human value, basically. They didn't call it innate, but they're using just sort of some innate human value, spark of life, whatever it is to be human. And so this is just a metaphysical claim. Viper says Jesus has infinite value times infinity. Yes, infinite infinities, yeah. Okay, given finite value hypothesis, by contrast, equal human value is unexpected. Yeah, so would you expect equal human value given finite values? It would be quite surprising, given finite value hypothesis, that we are all deeply and equally valuable. For each value would require that there be some particular finite degree of value, 61.2 axons, for example, such that we are each valuable to exactly that degree. Given our variation along other dimensions, this particular equality would be a surprising result indeed. I don't think so, because they abstracted away from all the other stuff. They specifically mentioned that is exactly what Adam Fighter was bringing up. They specifically abstracted away from all the instrumental goods, and all that's left is just the human value, and we can define that value as we want. So I don't think it is actually unlikely that value is any different if we were just considering the raw quiddity of being human. That's what this is for the philosophers out there. They're fucking using quiddity. This is a goddamn quiddity. Quiddity being a particular kind of the way a thing is, a whatness. Not as opposed to a specific unique thing. It's the kind of thing it is. It's the what sort of thing it is. It's the whatness of a human being human. Yeah. So I actually don't think this argument works, frankly. Okay, given our possible variations among other dimensions, this particular equality would be a surprising well indeed. I completely disagree with this line in terms of their argument. It is possible, yes, just as it is possible that all the paintings in our parable have the same degree of value. But equal finite value across wide diversity is surprising and unexpected. On finite value hypothesis, there is no simple and compelling explanation of extreme and equal value. So we judge the probability of equal human value on the hypothesis to be rather low. Yeah. Well, it depends how you interpret human value then. If you're interpreting it like I'm interpreting them right now as a quiddity, as a metaphysical property of being human, then I don't see how this is actually that surprising. Yeah. You like the way you prove that with quiddity? Metaphysics, motherfucker. All right, we might, of course, supplement finite value hypothesis with various auxiliary hypotheses. One could add that the selective evolutionary pressures or mysterious and powerful aliens only allow the birth and continued existence of human beings that have exactly 61.2 axons of value. And the probability of equal human value on this more complicated view might well be a high, even 1. But this maneuver comes at a familiar theoretical price. Adding extra conjuncts to a hypothesis can always expand the evidence that the hypothesis can accommodate, but it drives down the prior probability, or simplicity if you prefer, of that hypothesis. Yeah, so if there has to be, ad hoc theories to keep all the humans equal, yes, that makes it harder. I mean, granted, if you take their opinion here about the probability, then yes, this makes perfect sense. Proponents of infinite value hypothesis need not add such auxiliary hypotheses to their theory to explain or accommodate the evidence that is equal human value. Yeah, again, we're assuming there's only one infinity now too, which I don't think the mathematicians, correct me if I'm wrong, mathematicians, but I think there are multiple infinities nowadays, so why would we all be of the same infinity then? Ivan says, well, at least they got that tiny bit correct. Yeah. I mean, if I disagree with this, I will not hold this argument against the Bayesian epistemologists. I think there's a little bit, I don't love this argument. All right. We have all the ingredients we need then for a novel argument. It unfolds as follows. C1, equal human value. C2, the probability of equal human value divided by infinite value hypothesis is probably equal to 1 because it's infinite over infinity or whatever. And then is much better than equal human value over finite hypothesis, which would be low, whatever that is. No, infinity is quantified. Okay. Yeah. So there are levels to infinity, right? Yeah, no infinity is quantified. But isn't there bigger and smaller infinities? And so you can have omega 1, omega 2, omega to the omega, things that are there's I don't know enough math, but there are different omegas as far as I understand, and I apologize to the math people. Some are bigger. Thank you, hydrocannabinoid. That's my problem here. If there are multiple sized infinities, then the fact that they're saying humans are of infinite size is actually not specific enough. They would need to say we're all of a similar infinity, or else they get themselves into the same problem. None is known as biggest. That's fine. I only need that there's two. One that's smaller and one that's bigger. And as long as there's another bigger one, that's fine. But it's just as long as there's a gradation. That's my problem here. Okay, I don't know what the math is here. I don't know what the Bayesian calculation is here. But what they said about it, given what they've said, it makes sense that if you're allowing the auxiliary things to say that people can be graded, to value differently, then if it's infinite, then they're all basically the same. If it's finite, then some people would be worth more. Luke says it seems like they want to use a formula to evaluate the probability of evidence without any actual evidence. Yes, that's exactly what I think they're doing. Unreal says infinity divided by infinity equals question mark. Calculus falters on that attempted calculation before we got the rather intricate work on datakin cuts and such. I'm guessing these folks don't have that kind of foo for mathematical analysis. I don't either, but I don't know. Ivan says countably infinite value, but then I don't think that means V1 equals V2 because both are infinite. Yeah. So Yeah, you'd have to go get someone who understands math better than me to say this, but I know there's complications here, and that's basically what it comes down to. There's more complications than what they have presented. The other probably is dividing by infinity makes the value near negligible. Yeah, I don't know what happens when you divide infinity by infinity. Is there still infinity left, or do they cancel out? Yeah. Okay. So, therefore, equal human value is strong evidence for infinite value hypothesis. Yeah, because if you are taking it into account that there would have to be some weird way to fix human value at like some finite, a specific finite number, and you don't think that prior is very likely, then it's much more likely that we can push all people into the infinite realm. I think this is bad, but like I understand their argument. The argument is valid. We have already indicated support for the key premises C1 and C2. Premise C3 encodes the standard view about confirmation and evidence. If a datum is more probable on one hypothesis than another, it is evidence for that hypothesis. Yeah. Interesting results follow. First, equal human value confirms or is evidence for infinite value hypothesis. Second, on learning about equal human value, one is in position to increase confidence that infinite value hypothesis is true, and accordingly decrease confidence in finite value. Luke says equal human value EQV means something like a person value x thing y much equal human value. Probability is the answer under infinite or finite value hypothesis. Hypotheses change the evidence what they would value. Yeah, so I think that's what they're doing now. Yeah, they're going into this stuff. Just how much should your confidence increase? That is a matter of the ratio of equal human value for infinite to how much for finite value. Yeah, so what do you think the likelihood of, well, once you take these two things into account, how much should you believe in that we all have infinite value given this setup? The higher this ratio, sometimes called Bayes factor, is, the more support for equal human value provides to infinite value hypothesis over finite value hypothesis. For concreteness, let us plug in a few numbers. Suppose that the conditional probability of equal human value on infinite human value is indeed high, as we've argued above, 1 or close to it. And let us suppose that the conditional probability of equal human value on finite human value is indeed quite low, as we've argued above, perhaps as low as 0.05. The relevant Bayes factor would then be a 20 or close to it, suggesting that equal human value is not just evidence for our hypothesis, but strong evidence. Caveat: the exercise of this paragraph is heuristic. Since we don't have an argument for a precise value of p for a finite value, we don't have an argument for this precise Bayes factor. What matters here is that it is certainly high, and the higher it is, the stronger the confirmation argument turns out to be. Yeah, so if you have some reason to think that it's very low that we have some finite value of humans, then the fact that we're all of like very infinite high value seems more reasonable to you. Adam says value might be a relative value. The value depends on the evaluation method. Well, they know that. That's what they're trying to get at right here. I completely agree, Adam. Like, that's what they're trying to do. They're saying don't worry about exact specifics, but if you plug it in, you can get a ratio of 20 to 1, basically, and that's how confident you should be, given, give or take a little bit. Not a big deal. Our presentation of the confirmation argument sets the stage for an argument similar in spirit. We present this informal version of the argument for philosophers who, quite reasonably, have doubts about using Bayes factors or confirmation framework to derive philosophical views. Even if these formal tools are best left to the empirical sciences, we think there is still a kernel of insight within the confirmation argument. That kernel, when suitably nourished, can expand into a fruitful and promising argument for a similar conclusion. That argument is as follows. There is a kind of degree of value that we all share. W2, if so, then if that kind of degree of value is finite, then it is a wild coincidence that we all share it. W3, it is not a wild coincidence that we all share it. W4, that kind and degree of value that we all share is not finite. Yes. I mean, you know what's interesting about this right here? I actually agree with this argument 100%. I just wouldn't say it's infinite. I think that doesn't follow from this. I would say it's not a number. It's not a quantifiable thing that we all share, being human. That, I think, is a perfectly reasonable argument that you might get from this. and I reject their other conclusion from it. Because if like, therefore the kind and degree of value we all share is not finite, well, I don't think it's a number either. It's just they're saying, they're using like, they are getting a different conclusion from this, but I have no problem with like what they just said right here. It's just I think they've got the complete wrong attitude towards what should be understood about this sort of argument. Okay. So, W1 is a consequence of the now familiar thesis explored in the paper, specifically that we have an extreme and equal degree of value. Is that really there? Yeah, see, again, there is a kind and degree of value that we all share. Again. Yeah. It might well be that we all enjoy the status equally and that the degree in question is finite. That is an open possibility, but it carries with it further consequence, coincidence. For any finite degree of value at all, it would be extremely puzzling and strange to suppose that each of us has that degree and none other. Thus, W2. W3 adds this plausible thought to the mix. The wild coincidence in view is not convincing. Indeed, it seems wrong. One route to W3 is abstract. We could reason that theories that multiply or posit wild coincidences are, all other things being equal, not as good as those that do not. Another route to W3 is more concrete. Just consider the view that it is indeed a wild coincidence that we all share a certain kind and degree of value. This view is implausible, we think, and reflection on the museum parable we've given above supports that judgment. It is more plausible then that if we share equal value, then we all have a kind and degree of value that is not finite, which is to say, infinite. The informal remarks above do not necessarily give independent support to the central idea behind the confirmation argument. They may well stand or fall with that more formal presentation, but they may well prove to be more widely accessible and acceptable. We'll see. Okay, so that was one argument. So now we've got instrumental difference. Okay, so they said they were going to provide two different arguments. See, this might be, even though I don't agree with that other argument, maybe I like this one. They said this is what they were going to do. They said maybe both of them are problems, but they said together they will work out. We will see. I don't expect it to, but we shall see. Our second argument unfolds as follows. All right, so this is I1. We're all equally overall valuable. I2, we differ with respect to instrumental value. We differ with respect to instrumental value. That's fine. Like, I agree with that. I3, if so, then either we differ with respect to final value or we are all overly infinitely valuable. What? If so, then either we differ with respect to final value or we are all overly infinitely valuable. All right, that sounds like they're assuming the results of the previous section, though. All right, let's let it go. I4, therefore, either we differ with respect to final value or we are all overall infinitely valuable. I5, we do not differ with respect to final value. I6, therefore, we are all overall infinitely valuable. Okay, we already have the resource to motivate the premises. I1 begins with similar datum as our other argument. Okay, yeah, so they're basically assuming the shit they assumed above. Datum I1 trades on, however, concerns overall value. Yeah, so what they're doing here, it sounds like, is they're doing a Pascal. They're saying you have your infinite inherent value, and that just overwhelms the other one. Okay, like all the other options. The overall value of an item, let us say, is the sum of its final value and instrumental value. Yeah, see? That's exactly what's happening here. They're just fucking pulling a Pascal, saying, hey, look, if there's a chance of like infinite, afterlife in heaven, that will overmatch everything else. It'll dominate, that decision will dominate all the other ones. And so that's all they're doing it. It just is a decision theory domination argument where one decision always has a greater value and therefore is said to dominate. It just means that's always the better decision. Okay. However else we may differ, we do not differ in this respect. No person is overall more valuable than any other. Note that this thesis expressed by I1 is logically stronger than that presupposed by our previous two arguments. The instrumental difference argument requires as a starting point that we are all equal with respect to overall value rather than we are all equal with respect to final value. Yeah, so it all has to add up to infinity. DCI says, let me tell you my philosophical ethical conundrum in 5 points. Oh. Go right ahead, DCI. Ivan says the intrinsic value they speak of as nonsense doesn't exist. I agree. 2, n plus 1 is greater than n for all n, and a ratio can have an infinite limit not equal to 1. Yeah. DCI says axiom of importance. The ethical importance of an issue increases alongside the number of a number therein involved in sentient life forms, the duration during which... Oh god, is this turning into a copy pasta now? Are we really going to copy pasta that dickhead? Seriously? The vastness of effective space, to the extent to which it changes the life forms, or more directly increases with the absolute difference in cause, resulting in timing integrals overall with respect to specific... God damn it, DCI. Pleasure and pain receptor signals for all sentient beings. Extreme case by the above statement defined abstract general standard according to the current body of humanity's knowledge. General forms of evolution of life, if on Earth and exoplanets, forever constitute the most ethically important issue to exist within the universe, with billions of species, each numerous individual life forms, together with duration on the scale of billions of years and spatial extensions, at least a whole planet. It dwarfs any other conceivable ethical something or other. God damn it. Yeah, banhammer span that shit. All of God's children are equally fuckable. Ecclesiastics 4:15. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Thank you, Vipers. My Bayesian prior that DCI used AI is high. Thank you, Vipers. DCI deserves that one. Okay. All right, and yet we do differ. Yeah, so the argument here is slightly different because they're saying they have an overall value. But again, if you're going to be adding up something that of infinite size with something with a finite size, the finite size is irrelevant. Okay, so we even differ with respect to one kind or dimension of value. So I2 adds an obvious truth. Some of us are better at producing certain goods than others. You probably know someone who is better at making groovy music than you are, for example, or money. These cases exemplify differences in instrumental value. Yeah, all infinitely too. If the overall finite value of one item is equal to the overall finite value of another, but they differ in one factor contributing to their overall value, then surely they differ in some other factors contributing to their overall values. Difference in one kind of summand requires difference in another. This second kind of difference is the only way to ensure, as it were, that the sum remains equal. So if you and I have the same degree of finite value but differ with respect to instrumental value, then we... oh, this is what they're doing. Okay. Then we must therefore differ with some respect to final value. The other option, of course, is that the degree of overall value we enjoy is not finite at all. This is our case for I3. Okay, so their argument's slightly different, but it's basically the same. So it's like if you... or you have to mix and match if everything has to add up equal, but you can't change the inherent value. So again, either it's infinite or the other stuff can't be the same, and they're going to reductio that. Yeah. We do not differ with respect to final value, says I5. We are instead equal in this respect, so we must therefore infinitely overall value, because otherwise you couldn't add in finite goods and still end up with an infinity. Because if you add like 10 to an infinity, you still get infinity. But if someone has 11 instrumental value and you add it to infinity, it's infinity. So the person who only has 10 instrumental value and the person who has 11 instrumental value, they both have to have an infinite overall value that is infinite, because otherwise they couldn't be equal in the overall case either. We've given specifications of the core idea of this article. They're somewhat independent, and this is an advantage. Where one fails, another may succeed. Together, they support the idea that the best way to explain or account for the extreme and equal value of human persons is in terms of infinite value. Together, they chart a path from extremity and equality to infinity and beyond. All right, so we've got, 4 pages. Oh my God. I thought this said conclusion, but I must have been wrong. Oh, objections. Yeah, okay. We turn to objections. Well, first, one might wonder whether infinite value could secure equal value. After all, Cantor taught us that there are more infinite cardinals that you can shake a stick at. Yeah, so they knew this. So there are higher infinities, more infinite cardinals that you can shake a stick at, each bigger than the last. So how does the hypothesis that we are all infinitely valuable account for our equal value? infinity is compatible with inequality. By analogy, you learn that two sets both have infinite cardinality. Learning this would give you no reason at all to think that they have the same cardinality. This Cantorian insight undermines the confirmation argument given above. It suggests that P equal human infinite value is not high, and so the case for C2 fails. Yeah, so if you've got multiple infinities, then again, you're just in the same problem. Why are all the humans at the same infinity? We reply, the objection raises fruitful questions. It is not clear, for one, whether thoughts about our infinite value can be accurately expressed in a set theoretic framework. What? How are they allowed to make that argument? They're using numbers. Numbers and sets are basically pretty fucking similar. It's all math to me. So it's like, why would they get to use this argument here? After just putting a Bayesian mathematical argument out, and now they're saying sets are off limit. Why do you get to say what math is like kosher in your argument and what math isn't? I think that's massively unfair, this statement. Okay. They say, we will set aside worries along those lines for now, though, and offer two other considerations in reply to this objection. Okay, because I find this like a ridiculous thing for them to have said after this argument here. First reply, the argument can be repaired even with a familiar set theoretic framework. The idea is this. Specify a particular Cantorian infinity when stating the infinite value hypothesis. Where an accent is some finite unit of value, the infinite value hypothesis could be specified as the thesis that each of us has a value equal to the sum of alpha 1, alpha naught accents, for example. It is highly likely that this refined hypothesis that we enjoy equal in extreme value, indeed that the conditional probability would be 1, and so the refined hypothesis explains the datum well. Why is saying alpha 1, alpha naught any different than saying 61.2 accents? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why this is okay, and what they said earlier is not. Yes, Vipers, I'm upset, as it were. It remains an open question, of course, whether alpha naught is the correct order of infinity to select here instead of, say, 2 to the alpha naught. Yeah, like, I don't... Yeah, exactly. Why do you get to pick one? We have not settled this intramural debate between those who already endorse our infinite value and our confirmation framework is not suited... We have not settled this intramural debate between those who already endorse our infinite value and our confirmation framework is not suited to answering that question. But our argument might still show that we have infinite value, a thesis that is, on its own, intriguing enough. No, because the whole thing is that we have equal value. You need the equal value. And so if you're giving different infinities, like if you're grading infinity, then the equalness is undermined. And that like cuts out the start of the argument. Who cares about it being infinity if they have to give up their primary premise that we have equal value? Ugh. Okay. Yeah. Second reply. Perhaps we do not need to specify the precise kind of infinity at play. Alright, let's ignore it. The puzzle that leads us to infinite value is about how beings that diverge in manifestly finite ways could have the same value. No finite increase in strength or knowledge makes one human more finely valuable than any other. To solve this puzzle, it suffices to suppose that humans have a value that doesn't turn on finite differences. I was saying this earlier. This makes it a quiddity, as I said. Oh yeah, what happened here? Okay. No problem. Bot went down for a sec. If it's a metaphysical thing, if it's a quiddity, what's up, Sibligi? What's up? Sorry about the name on the alert, but thank you for the follow. They don't have the same value. Yeah, well, I agree with that. But like, yeah. But the idea that it suffices to suppose that humans don't have a value that turns on finite differences, again, that's making it entirely a metaphysical property of like whatever it is to be human. And so none of that matters anymore. Yeah. Sibili says, I live in the Netherlands. My euthanasia application was accepted last week. I decided that after a long existential crisis, otherwise I'm completely fine, etc. My surgery is on 26th. We can have an interview when you have free time. I don't give interviews, but okay. But I hope that everything works out well for you, as best you want. Like, I don't know anything about the situation in the Netherlands with euthanasia, but okay, if that's what you want to do, I wish you the best. Yeah. Okay. But what we are reading is a paper about how human life is of infinite value. Well, I hope it works out as best they want it to, DCI. I mean, if that's what they want to do, and they have cleared it with their local authorities, I was like, I hope it works out as best they want. You know, it's not my call on that one. Okay. Any infinite cardinality will do. Yeah. Okay, you wrote it. And so, again, we're talking about value of human life here. Any infinite cardinality will do. It may be objected here that though we each enjoy infinite value, the value of one corresponds to a higher cardinality than the value of another. This would be a case where all enjoy extreme infinite value, but nonetheless are not equally valuable. An intriguing thought, but we're skeptical, for it's hard to see what could account for such differences. Differences in knowledge, power, virtue, nose shape, eye color, and so on seem finite and thus unfit for that job. Okay, so if they're saying that we all have equal human value, then why would we arbitrarily give it different values? I don't know. They've made this up to begin with. That's a fair point, though. And so if they're all doing it, but then again, that it also doesn't mean it's infinite, because if they're all just giving it arbitrary value, it's ad hoc. It's a number. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. It's true, Vipers. I forgot about time zones. I hope you have a great time zone. They could at most account for finite differences in value, rendering one person worth 71 axons on account of their height, for example, and another only 70 on account of his equal height but slightly worse moral habits. Again, you see how arbitrary this axon thing is? Why do they get to make up axons in the finite level but not in the infinite level? I mean, how many alpha naughts do you need, or whatever, or 2 to the alpha naught or whatever, to when that's just another way of saying axon to me. Anyone who thinks that there must be an explanation for differences in value will be hard-pressed to say what that could be in a case where some enjoy value corresponding to alpha naught and others to say 2 to the alpha naught. Again, like I said, I think some people suck, and it's very easy for me to say some people are worth more than others. I got no problem with that. A third reply goes like this. Perhaps when evaluating the intrinsic plausibility of hypotheses involving infinities, the associated infinite cardinalities are not on a par. Perhaps alpha naught enjoys a kind of natural leg up. So, why do they get to pick one? They could have just picked, like 70 axons in that case, is the natural place for humans. So if you're told that the idea goes infinitely many books, you should assign a higher probability to the hypothesis that there are alpha naught books than to the hypothesis that there are 2 to the alpha naught books. Or perhaps you should presume that the infinity in question corresponds to alpha naught unless a good reason to think otherwise. Again, these are all just ad hoc things they're saying. I don't see an argument here at all. We are not wholly convinced by this idea. Well, me neither. But we recognize its attraction. I don't. If it is right, it suggests another reply to the objection under consideration. Though it may be possible that some people have a value corresponding to aleph naught. Aleph naught is smaller than 2 to the aleph naught, for people who don't know this. Or I think that's right. While others have a value corresponding to 2 to the aleph naught, we should antecedently rate that hypothesis of inequality as very unlikely, or presume it falls until given reason to think otherwise. On the assumption that infinities are at play at all, our expectation, absent countervailing reasons, should be rather that they all correspond to aleph naught. I mean, this is just them restating that everyone has equal value. What else has been said here? They're just saying that we think everyone's equal, so let's pick one. What else has been said? I'm a little bit at a loss for this argument at all. Okay, but then the premise in question C2 turns out to be resilient. The premise that supposes that equal human value the equal human value is infinite is divided by infinite human value is 1. So it's 100%. And this supposition would enjoy either a very high intrinsic probability or otherwise command assent absent countervailing reasons. The mere possibility of its falsity as envisioned in this objection wouldn't defeat the premise, and so it stands. If you're not quite convinced by all of that, we offer this thought. the instrumental difference argument is not undermined by the objection at hand, and so it may be an attractive alternative that succeeds where the confirmation argument does not. Okay, so that was the second argument, may be okay on this. Luke Rebel says, fun argument but fails due to assuming values exist separate from valuers. Also, the Bayesian approach doesn't apply because the ontological shift needed in the evidence dependent on the priors, or not priors, depending on the value, how the valuer valuers. Yeah, so I'm missing the E's and the H, but I get it. Because these are completely arbitrary values that, as you're saying, you need a valuer to get these values here, and there is no valuer. It's just sort of their intuition, as it were, for whatever human value is. Okay, another objection. The arguments presuppose that human beings are all equally and extremely valuable. I mean, that is what they presuppose. This premise, however, is not a datum, rather it is false. Here are 3 reasons. First, there is little reason to suppose that we are all equally finally valuable. This equal value idea is a fiction. It is perhaps useful for modern liberal democracies, but hardly a sober truth. Human beings differ in all sorts of ways, including their final value. Second, it is unclear what final value could even come to here. It is probably best interpreted as, to borrow Peter Singer's words, quote, obscurantist mumbo jumbo, end quote. Third, there is no reason to elevate human beings above the rest of nature as done in the arguments at hand. We are not angelic beings distinct from natural reality. We are parts of it and subject to the same finitudes as other animals. Singer could probably be recruited in defense of this final reason as well. Authors reply, we have no argument for the premise in question, and we will not attempt to refute these 3 promising objections, but we do have 2 comments. You feel like the last paragraph of page 9 should be at the beginning of the paper? Yeah, well, you hide it at the end when people are tired. Okay, their first comment. First, the equal and extreme value of human beings can do much to explain a wide range of ethical phenomena. Oh, so they're saying they like it, is what they're doing. They're saying it's useful. Great. Like, you can make up whatever theory you want. Like, go ahead. But, like, why would I accept it? They're saying it's, like, abductively useful here. Like, given the state of the world, we want this kind of theory. Fine, but, like, that, again, just because it's all, like, rainbows and sunshine over when you make your theory up, that has nothing to do with reality. Like, it doesn't. But, all right. Okay. That we are extremely valuable nicely accounts for the deep wrongness of murder, for example. There's a lot of exceptions to murder. Only if you're defining murder like it always being evil. We kill people all the time and we think that's fine. And so it's like, maybe we don't actually think everything's murder. It's like, yeah. Hey, Prof, how's it going? We're reading a paper that is ticking me off. It's about how valuable a person could be, and they are saying we are all equally infinitely valuable. This is analytic philosophy that annoys me, but it's a very clever paper. Anyway, anyone who does not know Prof, he's one of our streaming buddies. He is a philosopher. Give him a shout out. If there's anyone I missed shouting out, I'm sorry. But yeah, he tends to play Souls-like games, but chats philosophy while doing Souls-like. He is getting mostly done with his PhD. He does fun things like philosophy of music, bands, and stupidity. So if you want to know what stupidity is, and therefore wisdom after that, you can go talk to Prof. Some people call him Forp or Porf. I don't know. Some very interesting people do that. But there is a membership fee. But yeah, so welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so that we're all extremely valuable nicely accounts for the deep wrongness of murder, for example. That doesn't make it infinite. That we're all equally valuable nicely accounts for the wrongness of inequitable treatment. Yes, again, you don't need infinite value. You just need to be people need to be valued for these things. This has nothing to do with objections to the comments above. All right, for the authors say, for this reason, we think the equal and extreme value of human beings is a hypothesis worth testing and extending, as our article does. Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining that they looked into it. That's fine. Let's freaking go. I know my work better than I do now. Ha! I know jack shit. I know, like, so I can't even say I know nothing. I'm not that arrogant as Socrates. I know a few things at this point, but, like, I'm not going that far. Okay. For this reason, we think the equal and extreme value of human beings is a hypothesis worth testing and extending, as our article does. Second argument of some value is of some value, even for those who reject their starting premise. Well, I mean, as a reductio ad absurdum, I guess. For our arguments uncover this interesting conditional. If we are all equally and extremely valuable, then there is very good reason to think that we are infinitely valuable. Nope. Some may take this as a reductio of the antecedent or as a reason to accept the consequence, such as philosophy. Yes, exactly. But either way, our arguments shed new light. Yeah, I don't know about that, my friends. I mean, I don't like this sort of stuff. Yeah. Because, I mean, as they just said, like right up here, we will not attempt to refute the objections. And so the idea that I'm going to accept their arguments after they're saying I'm not going to respond to your objections is like, no, you don't get to not respond to my arguments and then still have like fun consequences. It was all like a hypothetical in the first part. If I reject your hypothetical, I don't get to be like, well, it was fun philosophy. I mean, it might be fun, but like, is this a D's nuts joke? What this is what you might appreciate this, Prof. What this is basically a religious argument for the dignity of humankind, but translated into a humanistic argument, basically using some Bayesian epistemology to substitute for the religious claims. So they did something interesting in terms of structure. They are translating religious arguments into non-religious arguments. And that's like kind of an interesting project. I completely reject a lot of the steps they had to make along the way to make it sound plausible. But I mean, this is what philosophers do sometimes. Like, I'm not saying this is bad philosophy. I disagree with this. But like translating old arguments into like for the modern day, this happens. So that's really what's going on here, in my opinion. And I mentioned before, they basically are using quiddities as part of their arguments. I don't think they realize that, but they're arguing for the quiddity of humanness, like what it is to be human, and that having value. And I think it makes it a lot clearer what's going on when you point that out. The problem is we're vermin. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think our value is that high, and like they're saying it's infinite and good. Ivan says it is bad philosophy. We should call it out. Ivan, it's like sometimes we agree. Thinking about infinite value. Ourselves agreed. All right, well, hey, stick around for another few minutes. We're almost at the end. We all get to review, so let's get this done. It is not hard to find affirmations of infinite value of human beings. Kant apparently thought that people were to be exalted above any price. Again, religious-style thinkers. Luke is sympathetic to Ivan's view. Ivan's on a roll, yeah. Search Google phrases like human infinite value and you'll find some 80 million results. Well, just people talking about it's not saying much. MDD says, I mean, the last 3 sentences of that paragraph you just read are what situates the entire paper, though. It's so odd to me that they wait so long to explicitly lay it out. This paper isn't about us motivating people equally valuable, but rather demonstrating how anyone who believes humans are all equally valuable should consider this to lead to the conclusion that humans are all infinitely valuable or something like that. Yes. Again, if you have certain sort of religious positions, you're going to get the sort of religious conclusion. That's what they're doing here. And like, that's exactly right, MDD. It's like, yeah. You're with me on this one, DCI? Well, appreciate your support. You'll need a good 15 minutes to copy and paste in the emotes. All right. That's fair. It, like I've said before, the more emotes you put, it does count. It does take into account multiple uses of the emotes. So if like you have 5 or 6 vote nays, it matters. All right. Pope John Paul II, for example, wrote the infinite value of the human person that is not tied to one's external features or on the ability to relate to other members of society. Again, the religious flavor of all of this. You're talking about the Pope. Pope John Paul II. And a White House announcement begins with the allegiance to the emphatic belief that every person has unique and infinite value. Yeah, but again, believing the United States government is not always the best way to be going about finding the truth. Statements to this effect are again commonplace. The arguments of this article could show that they are on the right track. Hey Retheus, what's going on? I hope you're alright. Yeah, I'm okay. The main aim of this article has not been to definitively establish that people have infinite final value. We have tried instead to support a conditional thesis from extremity and equality to infinity. But the consequence of that conditional raises important issues, some of which we'll address now. One might wonder whether the thesis that people have final infinite value implies that every human life is infinitely valuable, either itself or on the margins. In fact, neither claim follows. Distinguish 1. Every human life, an event that lasts just so long as a human being is alive and includes the entire story of her mortal existence, is overall value to an infinite degree. For any human being, the marginal value of some finite interval of life, that of an extra year of living, say, is overall valuable to an infinite degree. 3. For any living human being, she, the person herself, is infinitely finally valuable. We've argued that the extreme equal value supports 3. Yeah, they're only saying that the life on the whole is infinite, not for parts of the lives. So not so for theses 1 and 2, and this is good since they are not plausible. Okay, against 1. Some human lives, particularly those that produce great evil, that is, vast quantities of instrumental disvalue, may be overall disvaluable on that account, even if they contain vast quantities of final value too. It may well be overall for Pol Pot better for Pol Pot's life, given the course it took, to have never been. Some human lives may also brim with suffering and pain, that is, contain vast quantities of final disvalue, and produce too little instrumental value to enjoy overall positive value. It does not follow from these points that human persons could lack overall value, of course, so these observations are compatible with our arguments. For a human person is not identical to her life. Yeah. Yes, Retheus, this is what's going on. These folks are, as I just was saying, they're trying to show the dignity of human life, and they're giving a very technical argument for this. Like, they're giving a technical argument for what just appears to be a lightly, like an old-style religious argument for human dignity. And they've given a technical argument based on some math that, according to them, pushes the value of human life into the infinite. So that's what's going on here. In conclusion, how can people have equal value? Well, how can pizza have value? Even when New York pizza doesn't have equal value to Chicago pizza. This is exactly the question. Pizza has infinite value, but New York pizza is better than Chicago pizza, but both pizzas have infinite value. And that's what they're doing here. They're using multiple versions of the term value. And it's like, okay, because you've got instrumental and final. The final is that pizza itself is infinite, but New York pizza is better than Chicago. So yes. So the math is a sketch, yeah. I mean, we're here now. They said if you go to heaven, we're here now. What else matters? Well, that's what they're saying. They're trying to, again, like I said, I feel like this is just a update of a religious sort of style of argument, and so they're trying to justify this sort of global claim about the value of human life, and they're saying that matters. And Detroit has the one pizza rule the mar. Retheus says, I've been in New York and Chicago, and I'm a pizza expert. I can say for definite that Detroit pizza is best. Blasphemy. DCI says, no one wants right angles on their pizza. Unreal Brian. Yes, that's true. Pizzas are round. You have a pie. You get a pie of pizza. Pies are not normally square. I guess they're more of a tart if they're square, but pies are round. Pie tin is a round thing. I tried some Detroit pizza. It was pretty good. I'm sure it is. I'd love to try some. DCI, you want crispy crust on every bite? Yeah. You people are weird. You want to be able to fold your pizza. You have to fold the pizza. It's what you do. Chicago style is lasagna. Yeah, it's a casserole. Okay. Yeah, so again, for a human person is not identical to their life. The idea of pizza is not identical to any individual pizza. That's what's going on here. The concept of pizza, the quiddity of being a pizza, is not down to the hexaity, the individuality of individual pizzas, whatever it is. Okay. Against 2, whatever we might say in our more pious moods, again, religiously tinged, this whole thing. Hardly anyone's revealed preferences are consistent with the thesis. Sure, there's some price you'll pay, something of value you'll give up in exchange for an extra year of life, but there are some prices you'll not pay. There's some amount of suffering, for example, for you or for loved ones you'd rather not exchange for another year of living. What this shows is that even if the marginal value of human life is infinite, yeah, I mean, you have do not resuscitate, as we had someone in chat earlier today arguing for, or said they were doing. It is not infinitely valued by actual people. Of course, we could all be making a deep mistake here in failing to infinitely treasure that which is infinitely valuable. But the more plausible reaction we think is to conclude instead that human life does not possess infinite marginal value. Yeah, so again, what little things on the excess, it's like those things don't matter so much. For God, it is okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we actually had someone claiming they were going to be euthanized later today in chat. And I was like, okay, whatever. Retheus is rolling on the floor laughing. LA Pizza is an off Broadway play and the mastery happening in other parts of the nation. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Prof was claiming that LA Pizza was the best the other day. I saw that on stream. I think I typed something very nasty in your chat, thought better and deleted it. Like, you said that the other day. So, yeah. Pizza epistemology in your life. Oh, my God. Hashtag Los Angeles. Prof. It's like, just, Prof, come on. Well, you know what not to say. That's what the problem. I might have said something like actually mean and just bad. I deleted it. Pizza epistemology is a bad word now. That's not a bad word, actually. Pizza epistemology is not bad. Pizza epistemology. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. All right. You go to LA more than another city than your own? Ah. And so Retheus would know. And Retheus, you put Detroit pizza over LA pizza, right? Right? Detroit's better. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we need receipts here. I'm afraid your pizza game leaves much to be desired. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Back to the pizza wars. All right. Let's get this to the end. Like one more page. The kind of final value we've had in view would attach to people equally and to an infinite degree. It seems, however, that we can make meaningful and reasonable distinctions regarding at least some kind of final value that people possess. This is puzzling, as Zimmerman puts the point. Quote, suppose that Mary has none of the virtues of John and Kath and no other redeeming features either. Suppose indeed that all her personal qualities are reprehensible. Wouldn't it be absurd to say that she has a final value as great or as John or Kath's? End quote. We offer two replies. First, we distinguish the final value had by a person because she is a person, and that had by a person because she is virtuous or had otherwise redeeming features. Zimmerman is certainly correct that we can make meaningful and reasonable distinctions between people when it comes to value of the second sort. Okay, so we've got another Detroit adherent here in Retheus. I find that disturbing, but like such as Twitch chat. That's exactly what I find LA style pizza everywhere around the world. Oh wow, Anne's calling you out. Yeah. You have pizza in the freezer, factory pizza, you know. Look, fast food pizza like Domino's, it's fine. I think of it as fast food though. Frozen pizza again, it's fine. It's just not like, you know, restaurant quality pizza, but that's the whole point. You have it for when you just need some food. But again, it's just not the same thing. Prof says, my wife's from Detroit and find it completely missing the mark. You probably think that Chicago is pizza's deep dish. Well, let's get your wife on here and see what her opinion has to say. All right? We can go, your wife streams. We can ask her. Like, this is like, we can investigate this. Uh-huh. That's what I thought, Prof. That is what I thought. Uh-huh. Love you some Papa John's. Have it when you want good pizza. Okay, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't love Papa John's, but like that doesn't mean it's bad food. You can go have it. I don't know if it's good pizza, but it's fine. If you like it, the food, that's fine. Pizza bomb, yeah. I like living in my house. Yeah, I figured, Prof. We do not have to bring that up. Joiner's thin crust, yes, blasphemy. Okay, all right. Yeah, again. So they're just reiterating their old argument here again. They're saying, look, we're not talking about all the incidentals with the pizza or the person. It's the quiddity, the inherent whatever it is to be a person or a pizza that gives it value. Okay, such distinctions are consistent with our arguments, for our arguments concern the former, yes, the quiddity, the thingness that is the dignity of human life. We've argued that if person value, as we might call it, extreme and equal, then it is infinite. So what's good about folding? it's super like convenient to eat. Uh, what are we doing? Pure P? What is this? Prof? Are we doing logic in chat now? What's good about folding? It makes the pizza like easy to just pick up and eat. So you can walk with it. You can talk. You're like eat food. This. It seems to me like if you have to fold pizza, you have more than one pizza in hand. You have a people versus pizza, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm doing that to poke fun at the argument, that to show their argument. It's a reductio ad absurdum of their argument, that if you can make the exact same argument for pizza, that like there's an inherent argument for pizza doing the same thing, it kind of shows that they weren't even talking about people, and so it's weird. And so it's like, yeah, so if you say, look, the inherent quality of being a pizza is like infinite as opposed to any particular pizza, then it's like, well, even though it doesn't quite line up with the people argument, it shows that basically it's a little bit on, it shows that the footing is not as good as it might be. Aldi says Mama Cozy's pizza is supposed to be a meal, not a newspaper. Yeah, but I mean, so a lot of wow, okay, losing it. A lot of things are folded when they're being eaten anyway. So like other things are also folded, like quesadillas are folded. That's how you eat quesadilla. It's folded over with cheese. So it's like, all right. Okay, trying to get this done. We've argued that if person value might call it is an extreme and equal, then it's infinite. That conditional is it consistent with all sorts of comparisons between other kinds of value people possess, final or otherwise. A second reply is that the goodness of virtue may perhaps accrue not to a person, but rather to a virtue state itself. What the fuck are they doing all of a sudden? Okay, so now they're doing metaphysics of virtue here. Like, and so when you increase virtue, it's not to your personhood, but to some other value, some part of you. Okay, that's weird, but all right. On this model, there could be meaningful comparisons between the value of Mary's courage and Kat's, even though Mary and Kat themselves have precisely the same degree of value. Yeah. So again, you have the quiddity of being human, but then you can go measure like the virtue of like courage scale on independently. That's fine. That said, we think that Zimmerman's point here is worth further reflection, and together with the arguments we give for our key conditional, it puts significant pressure on those who would accept the conditional as antecedent or consequence. Consequence and extension. People are infinitely valuable, pious and popular slogans. If people are infinitely valuable, a pious and popular slogan turns out to be true. What follows and why should this be interesting? In this section, we will briefly highlight 4 possible consequences or extensions. First, our thesis has practical implications. You may put these to use as soon as you are done reading this article. There are probably people in your life. Well, that is true. I completely agree with this statement. If we are correct, these people are really quite remarkable, all of them. They are probably the most precious things you've ever known. Their worth has no bounds at all. You should therefore look on them with wonder and take great delight in their existence. I am happy they like their families. I know not everybody does. It's like, I like my family. I agree with them. But it's just like, I know people for whom this is not the case. So it's like, yeah. God stuff like this drives you crazy? Yeah, I mean, I find this very silly, this stuff. And like, this is what I say, like at the very beginning, I was like, this is like God tinged. It's like an ontological argument, just, recast in non-God terms. But it's very, very like in that vein. This duty, we are obliged to value valuable things, it seems, is a joyful one. That's wonderful for you. Second, we have exposed a possible answer to the question of what makes people special. There are, as we have observed, all manner of valuable things, but people seem to be different in kind to the rest. Topiaries and songs and delicious meals are good, all right, but people are better. The thesis advanced in this article suggests one account of why this is. People are different not just in degree, but in kind, because unlike most other merely finitely valuable things, people have value without limit. And again, this is what I was commenting. If you say, well, different pizzas have different value, but pizza itself, how do you value pizza itself? That might be infinite. You might think that pizza is an inherent good in the world, and that would of infinite value. Like, how much good has pizza done? So it's like, yeah, see, again, so I think even this is, you might think people are special, but I can make the same argument about pizza pretty strongly. Viper says, I'd throw you all in a vat of hydrochloric acid for a moderate amount of steam vouchers. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Thankfully, there's no way in the hell you're getting a moderate amount of steam vouchers, so I feel pretty safe. Third, here's an application from the philosophy of religion. Some theists claim that a perfectly good God has arranged an eternal and glorious afterlife for some and annihilation for others. If our thesis is correct, there is some reason to doubt that second claim. To allow or arrange for an infinitely valuable thing to pass out of existence altogether, to be annihilated, is to allow or arrange for a very bad state of affairs. The loss of even one person to the abyss of annihilation would accrue infinite disvalue. This is some reason to deny that a perfectly good God would allow or arrange for such a loss. Yeah, again, very Western Christian tradition. I mean, take it or leave it. Finally, we point out a connection between the argument of this article and the question of what we are. Accounting for our infinite value on the hypothesis that we are wholly material beings, animals, brains, cerebral hemispheres, or what have you, is no easy task. It would seem to be much easier if we were instead creatures of a different kind altogether, from finite material goods found in nature. Immaterial souls say, oh shucks, we're just going straight up. Immaterial souls. The thesis that we are indeed infinitely valuable could then support a novel argument against materialism about human persons. The key conditional in question here, if we are infinitely valuable, then we are not wholly material, also suggests a new objection to our infinite value. If there are good arguments for materialism and that key conditional is false, then those arguments for materialism are also objections to the thesis that we are infinitely valuable. Yeah, so I mean, you could just, modus tollens, they're modus ponens. Sure. But these are, as we say, possible consequences. We do not raise them to suggest that they are certainly the case, but they deserve further inquiry and together show that our thesis could command wide interest. Conclusion. Unreal Brian, there's no good paper to be constructed from the wreckage of this verbal explosion. Yeah, I was hoping this would be, even if I disagreed with it, would be a little bit better. It's like, but let me just, I still got a freaking page. Let me get through this. Vipers, you said 12 pages. It's 13. God fucking damn it. Actually, no, it's 12. You were right. The first page was nothing. All right. In this article, we have answered an important question. We have said how valuable a person could be. People could be very valuable and even infinitely valuable. That is, we've shown a consequence of the plausible and widely accepted view that people are extremely and equally valuable. Troubling questions remain. For example, how could it be that people are infinitely valuable? It's easy enough to see why we'd have some degree of value. Most things do, but why infinite? And why all of us like that? What could possibly ground or account for such infinite value? These are, again, troubling questions. They admit of no clear answer. Many obvious, oh god, this is just like walking some things back, or are they just spouting crap? I don't know. Maybe I'm with Unreal here. Maybe obvious answers face problems. It is unlikely that your final value is simply the sum of individual values of parts. For example, an additional view would have a hard time accounting for both the equality and extremity of our value. Equally, people are widely diverse in their size and shape and in the various configurations of their parts. Why should their parts happen to sum to the same value? Extremity. Your parts don't seem to have enough value individually to add up to the value you have. Though your top and bottom halves might be quite special, you are more special than their combined value. It is unlikely, too, that our final value could be socially constructed. This view faces the same problems as above, for people need not be and are not, in fact, equally valued. And the social construction theory fails to make much sense of the greatness, much less infinitude, of your value. Suppose Sue moderately likes himself and no one else knows Sue. Then Sue's value would be moderate. But no person has mere moderate value. There is an additional, perhaps more basic problem with the social construction theory. This theory gets the order of value backwards. People do not have final value because they are valued. Rather, they are properly valued because they are valuable. These guys did too much LSD? Maybe, I don't know. Unreal says somehow isomorphic to certain types of interstellar explosion. Yeah. We predict then that accounts of the grounds of our infinite value will face serious difficulty. Yes. We close by suggesting 3 paths forward. First, develop better theories of value that can accommodate and explain something's having value without bounds. Do not be putting numbers on things that don't have that can't be measured. Just don't do it. It doesn't matter. More Molly than LSD? Yeah, maybe. It's like religion. Don't do it. Ugh. This is no easy task. Second, give up on the thesis that our infant value has any explanation at all. Yeah, just make it basic. Okay, brute fact. We're infinitely valued. Okay, just go with the religious thing. That's all that you're saying there. Just take it on faith. Perhaps our infinite value is an unexplained explainer. This comes at a price and will no doubt annoy fans of various principles of sufficient reason. Third, revisit the opening premise of this article and deny that we are, after all, equally and extremely valuable. What other path is to be taken? We have learned something valuable about value of persons. No, but okay. Steve the John, too much Latter-day Saints? Yes. All right, but now we get to review. Let me know what you think about this article. And I don't think I have to explain that I did not like it. I did not like it. I did not like it. I did not like it at all. Not only did I think they abused like Bayesian epistemology and a few other theories in the course of this, they argued it poorly. I thought this was not well argued because I thought it was, this is getting like immediately the first thing. Wow, Ivan. Yeah, this is immediately getting golden turd. Like this just has to be golden turds. This is nog turd, as you can see over here. Oh, if anyone is new here, everyone is welcome to rate. You get brain dance if you thought it was fun, nog grapes if you thought they made big claims that shriveled up, navel if you thought it was only for academics, Ouroboros if it had deep ancient ideas, existential if about existential artistic drama, nog turd, all style no substance, and slicing and dicing for nog knife. They're going to get a knife. They attempted to get a knife. And then there's also the global vote yay, vote nay, and vote meh. So we're going to get nog knife on this. That will be the best thing I have to say about it, I think. And then we're going to just be going vote nay a bit. Give it 3 vote nays. Then we're also going to give it a nog grapes because they walked back a lot of what they said multiple times. So that's bad. So wait, did I give it, where's my, so I gave it a knife. I gave it some 3 nays. Oh, and then I'm going to have to give it the golden turd too. Nog turd, because a lot of their arguments were, I thought a lot of their arguments were obfuscating. They were basically using fancy arguments to get to their, that basically did not get at the issue. They would restate their premises, but they didn't actually argue for what they want to say a lot of times. They kept saying the same thing, but it was basically you had to accept it to begin with. A lot of begging the question here. So it's going to clog when you flush. Yeah. It's just a lot. And so we've got thank you for rating Unreal Brian, Infernal, Steve the John. Who else did this? Rexler, Aris, Luke, Ivan. Yeah, everyone else, you feel free to get your review in. To give them credit, well written, I gave them a knife. I could have given them 2. I thought they, they did it with style and pizzazz, which is unfortunate. Like, I wish they wrote a better article with style and pizzazz. This is one of the top philosophy journals. Philosophy and Phenomenological Research has rejected me multiple times. I'm only slightly bitter about all my philosophy rejections, but I feel like multiple people in chat, not just me, were able to voice very, very serious concerns with this article. And it's like, well, you need to really be way on board with their premises to get anywhere. Thank you, Vipers, for rating. A lot of grapes, a lot of turds, and some nays. Yeah. Ara says, this kind of philosophy is every bit as frustrating as the work of Donna Haraway. It is the use of false precision to say basically nothing. It is philosophy completely devoid of wisdom. It takes a serious and interesting issue like the value of human life and abstracts away from anything useful or intelligible in the name of the most inhuman skeletal and anemic logic. PPR should feel bad about publishing something like this. Yeah. And, and this is one of those also, this is a clever idea, what they did. Like, to pull this paper off, you need to be really smart. You have to be competent philosophers. And it's like, they're really smart and they're very competent philosophers, and they just, did something that's, not good philosophy. Like, this is a well-written, well-conceived of idea, and you'd think, maybe if they did it, there would be ways to do it better, and it's just sort of, not. And, this is one of these, this is why the continental philosophers hate analytic philosophers, because the continental philosophers would be like, you've said nothing about the value of human life in this paper. We've said, the analytic philosophers said nothing about it, and this is why continentals hate analytic philosophers.